Hello. I've got fucking ants everywhere. Oh, actually I'm more than I thought. We're on 3,180 calories. Fucking hell. All right, this ant situation is actually really bad. It's a bit loud. Do you mind? Okay, meal number 3. The cupboard is literally like full of ants right now. There's still so many fucking ants. You can go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, and some mornings just feel so good and rested, and then other times just barely be able to keep your eyes open. That is the current situation that I am in. And also, I've got fucking ants everywhere. And I don't know what they're going for. But I'm going to have to sort that out later. Yeah, no matter what sort of phase I'm in, whether that be like, you know, a mini cut or a... Fucking hell. Alright, this ant situation is actually really bad. But the cupboard is literally like full of ants right now. Yeah. It's these figs that when I was in like a off-season bulk growth phase, whatever you want to call it, that was in my post-workout meal for some very, what am I trying to say? Very dense carb source with low volume. And the ants seem to love dried figs. There's still so many fucking ants. Okay. Oh my God, back to what I was saying. I always start with like a liter of water, get that down straight away, and black coffee. And, you know, at different stages I will have some sort of like electrolyte powder sometimes, electrolyte caps. At the moment, I'm just taking a little bit of heart salt, which I put this on my meals. So basically, rather than just being a salt that's completely made from sodium, it's also got potassium in it. Likely in most people's modern diet, they're probably getting a high amount of sodium in relation to their amount of potassium. So they could benefit from some extra potassium, and a simple swap like that heart salt could make a big difference. So yeah, a litre before we step out the door, but we'll get water down, black coffee down, bit of electrolytes, and then we'll go for our fasted walk. Okay. Well, no thank you. No thanks to the ants. But we're sort of done this first little part of the morning. One thing that I started doing a few years ago, which was honestly a big game changer for me, was I started charging my phone not in my bedroom, like that I sleep in. So it always charges like somewhere else, whether that would be like a bathroom, or right now it just charges out here, like next to the couch. And what it kind of ensures is that there's no chance you're gonna kind of wake up and grab your phone straight away and risk maybe scrolling in bed, or just having your first thoughts of the day kind of dictated by, you know, a message that you see or something like that. So I definitely like to get through like waking up, having my shower, and then getting my water into me, getting a coffee going. But yeah, I don't know if I've hardly even looked at the camera. Liam won't be happy with me, so I need to absolutely stare down the barrel. All right, I'm going to turn that fucking thing off and enjoy my coffee. All right. back from the walk, I actually forgot that I have an appointment today around 8 o'clock. So normally I would train around, like get to the gym at 7:30ish, 7:38. So seeing as I have this appointment at 8 o'clock, it's not quite late enough where I'm gonna have 2 meals before the gym. So I still only want my 1 meal. So I'm just gonna push it back slightly. So normally I would have had it as soon as I got back from the walk, about like just under an hour ago, but I just decided to do a few other things around the place. And yeah, I'm gonna have the meal now, and then yeah, I'll be a bit behind on my meals later in the day, but being that I'm in a deficit only on 3,000 calories, it shouldn't be too much of an issue to get the food in. I'll just try and have a minimum of like a 2-hour gap between meals, where normally I would aim for like 3 hours, but I'll probably have to push some of those closer together. Especially like my third meal, so that's the meal like just after my post-workout meal. I can definitely have that within an hour and a half, 2 hours, because it's quite a fast digesting, easily digesting meal, being cream of rice. So yeah, that won't be an issue. All right, so meal 1 is pretty much prepped and ready to go. All I do is add the berries to it. So I make these in like batches of 4. So I need to prep more of these today, actually. Now, I will give you guys the rundown. I'll give you the full day rundown and this meal currently. So we are currently on exactly, where are we? Oh, we're actually on more than I thought. We're on 3,180 calories. And that is comprised of 273 protein, 396 carb, and 56 fat. Now, this first meal is a pretty simple protein oats. It's a good meal that I pretty much have in as my first meal, you know, year round, because it's obviously can be prepped in advance, so I can just don't need to do any work in the morning, and it's quite like scalable in terms of like an off season where you can start to add rice to it instead of more oats to get more carbs without the extra fiber and fat, and quite easy to add things like honey and more fruit, dates, all that to kind of up the carb content without pushing the volume too high. So I definitely always like having this one in. But anyway, it is currently 80 grams of oats, 45 grams of whey, 20 grams of honey, 10 grams of chia seeds, 120 grams of blueberries. Total of 722 calories, 50 protein, 105 carb, 12 fat. Yeah, cool. So I pretty much just got to, not that it's that exciting, but just add the blueberries and the honey. Just the honey. And then also, like I mentioned earlier, so I'll do both heart salt and pink salt. So I'll do 1 gram of this heart salt. Go. And I'll also just do a little bit of, I just kind of eyeball that. Look, I will be honest, there's periods of the year where I do track my sodium, where I'll weigh out my salt for the day and then take from that little container. And then there's times where I just sort of standardize it. So I'll just kind of have known what it looks like to weigh out a certain amount, and then I'll just kind of make sure I'm consistent and don't have any massive blowouts with like anything crazy high in sodium. I guess things to look out for are definitely seasonings, because obviously they're not all created equal. You can have like some pretty standard seasonings, like I don't know, like a Mexican flavored seasoning, or just like an all-purpose seasoning, and they can actually be quite different in sodium content just depending on the brand, all those different things. Okay, that one's pretty much good to go. Oh, we nearly forgot. Morning pills wise, look, I'm not going to run through it in this video, because I think people care about this stuff for the wrong reasons. It's whenever I post like something with my morning pills here, I get so many questions of like, what are they? And I think people just want to blindly take it without understanding the application and how it would be beneficial to them and how it fits into their overall like diet and just their overall circumstances, really. But anyway, these are things that I'm taking to supplement and assist with what I'm trying to do. Okay. Oh, should have mentioned as well. So a big thing, I'm not training as early as I normally would, but it is still important. When training earlier in the morning, people that train pretty soon after waking, getting in proper hydration is super important. So before I went on that walk, I had 1 litre. Then when I came back, I've been sipping on another litre. I'll have that finished not soon after finishing this meal. And then there'll be 500 mils in like my non-stim pre-workout, and then I'll crack an energy drink as well. So there'll be about 3 litres in before I even start training. And then intra-workout, I'll probably drink another litre easily. So then I'm 4 litres by the time I finish my training for the day. That's why I find people that struggle to get their water in, definitely front loading it. So really prioritizing it early in the day is of massive benefit, because then you're not going to be up all night pissing if you're trying to get it in later in the day, and that's also going to be able to fuel assist your performance in the gym and adequate recovery and all that good stuff. Okay, I'm just saying lots of aren't I? All right, I'm going to sit down and eat this one. I might put the camera over and have a yarn about something. I have no problem yapping away. Yeah, that is super overexposed, I think. Fuck it. It might be usable. Calories won't have to get like drastically lower than this on the mini cut. I might have one more reduction in a few weeks, a couple of weeks maybe, by a few hundred cal just to finish off. But in like a prep setting where calories do get quite low, this meal here being like a protein oatmeal, one thing that I've done in the past just super good is adding like in grated zucchini just for some extra volume from something that's not very calorie dense. So we get like a lot of extra volume into the meal without many calories. Just one thing to be mindful of when like chasing that volume game is like the fiber content. So sometimes people just like mindlessly add in a lot of veggies and things like that to volumize their meals. But then you may run into some digestion issues if you pump up the fiber too much all at once. There really isn't like a set prescription. Everyone can be so unique and individual in terms of like their response to fiber, but I'd say often it's not even so much the total quantity of fiber, it's like how drastically you make that increase. So you just want to make sure you are being cognizant of that for sure. Okay, cream of rice is basically just rice flour. So it's just like, imagine like a grain of rice that's been blended up into like a powder. That is basically what it is. And then you use like boiling water, you can microwave it, blah, blah, blah. It makes it into like a thick kind of rice pudding type thing. Super useful. It's a very good to be utilized as a pre or a post-workout meal. And definitely you can make quite calorie dense meals as well. People that are like struggle to get calories in, who say they're hard gainers, can't gain weight, you could make some diabolically calorie dense things with like dates, lots of almond butter. And then you also have like a bit of flexibility with how much you actually volumize it, like how much water you add. And if you're struggling with the volume of it, you can just add less water. It makes it a bit thicker, but then overall, yeah, less volume. So there's heaps of ways to do it. There's like purely in the microwave, purely with a kettle. I've done multiple ways, and it kind of can depend on what protein you have, which way is best. So this way that I'm going to do today is a combination of the kettle and the microwave. So we've got 110 grams of rice flour. And now with this protein that I'm currently using, which is Muscle Nation's vanilla ice cream. It works best putting the protein in first, not at the end. Putting in the end can work, but for some proteins it kind of makes it not as thick as it could be. This one suits best going in at the start. So 45 grams of whey. And what I haven't even done yet is get the kettle boiling, stupidly. And then you just need a whisk. I can get away with using a fork, but it just does not work as well at all. So I'll mix this together first, the rice flour and the protein together, and then pretty much it's just going to be adding in the boiling water, roughly like a 1:4 ratio of rice flour to water, and then I will finish it in the microwave, mix it a bit, microwave it again, and then put it in the fridge to cool down, and then add my banana and almond butter when I go to eat it later after my workout. Yeah, so like I said, roughly 4:1, 1:4, but I'm at the point now where I just eyeball it. So I don't need to worry about that. And like I said as well, you can obviously, if you want a thicker consistency, you just use less water. But at the moment, being in a deficit, I sort of want the extra volume just to help me feel a bit more satiated. So I'll do this one on the looser side, but it will still be like a decent consistency. It's not going to be all watery like some people butcher their cream of rice. So I'll do like a minute and a half in the microwave, and then I'll whisk it again. And then sometimes it looks like it needs a bit more. Sometimes I just do that minute and a half, and that's it. That's basically super simple cream of rice. And then at the end, after, you can have it hot, but it's honestly, it'll thicken up much nicer if you let it cool down in the fridge. And then I'm today going to be adding banana and some peanut butter, but like in a more of a surplus context, I would be having something like dates, so for a super calorie dense source of carbs. Whatever, blueberries, berries, even like more cereal on top of that. Like there's lots of things you can do, but that is basically the base of it. Yeah, all right, I got to get ready to leave. I'll see you guys whenever I see you. All right, post-workout meal. We have that cream of rice from earlier, but we've added our banana, some cinnamon, some salt, and some almond butter, and a peppermint tea to have help with digestion a little bit and to help me relax and calm down. We have obviously gotten stimmed up for a workout, but now it's all about trying to get back into a parasympathetic nervous state and start the recovery process. So I find peppermint tea can be quite nice, just to kind of a little ritual to kickstart that. But I'll set you guys up and we'll eat this meal and we'll see what else we can yap about. Don't know how long this video is going to wind up being, but that's okay. We're going to kind of figure that out together. Winging it. Kind of all good. Okay, the session, to be honest, wasn't an amazing one. Some days you will have that. You'll do what you can to be mentally prepared, physically prepared, but things just won't be clicking in terms of, I guess for me it was mentally, I just wasn't like having that go in there and absolutely kill someone kind of energy that often creates a great session for me. The days where you're not feeling good, there definitely is something to be said about making those your best days, like not feeling good. That doesn't have to have any bearing on how the session turns out. That can be true. But if I'm being honest with you guys, that isn't always the case. There can be some days that are a little bit just slightly lackluster. Still took progressions on some movements. Definitely didn't regress on anything. So like, it doesn't mean just because of how I feel about it wasn't a productive session. But yeah, it just wasn't like that go in there and kill someone energy. But yeah, not every not every session can just be ridiculously like top tier, because then it would kind of lose all meaning and that would just be baseline. And yeah, if that makes sense. So you kind of need the bad ones or the average ones to make the good ones feel so amazing. But I am behind where I would normally be having this meal. I would normally be eating this around about 10 a.m., 10 to 10:30 a.m., and it is about 12:15. So yeah, a bit behind. So I'll eat this now, and then I'll try and make sure I'm getting the next meal in about 2 hours' time. And then I should be able to catch up pretty well and not be having to cram them in and not be having to push back when I go to sleep. So it's not really that bad. Like, definitely been in worse situations with food getting pushed back when I'm on like 5,000 calories. So this will be quite easy. I don't know if oh shit. I guess if I'm going to make this into somewhat of a full day of eating or give you the deets, I better make sure I go over what this meal is. I've already told you guys what's in it, but I think I have anyway. It's 100 grams of banana and 15 grams of almond butter. I already told you about the rice flour and the protein earlier. It is a total of 59 grams of protein, 111 grams of carbs, 10 grams of fat, for a total of 765 calories for meal 2. And then, so yeah, 3 meals left after this one, which, fuck, I honestly am kind of getting over this, to be honest. I don't know if I want to film the rest of the day, but yeah, it's pretty like, go-to bodybuilder post-workout meal. The goal for this isn't really about trying to like pack it full of like dense micronutrients or anything. That will come later with my next 2 meals especially. I really prioritize getting in a lot of micronutrients and especially like really focusing on my potassium in those next 2 meals, whereas this one's more just about the ease of digestion and total like carbs getting in the system, and protein, of course. All right. Have a look at that, will you? Look at that. That's a bit loud. Do you mind? Okay, meal number 3. I'll just quickly tell you guys everything that is in it, and I'll give you the macros. All right, where are we? Okay, 220 grams of chicken breast. All of this is raw weight, by the way. 100 grams of white rice, 50 grams of sauerkraut, half an avocado, and then I have frozen spinach and kale. Frozen for convenience. Also, it's just easier in terms of like getting a lot of it in without it being too much volume. I'm having to try and wilt it down. Then I've got some cherry tomatoes, and then I have garlic, ginger, and tomato paste as well, mixed through with the rice and all the spinach and stuff. Lots of different micronutrients involved there, but also the tomato paste and spinach is like a very good underrated source of potassium in a very small volume of food. So that's the reason for that one. Just making sure you look out to try and get either try and get a low sodium tomato paste, or just be at least aware that some tomato paste can be quite high in sodium. Yeah, so the protein for that one, 58, 79 carb, 16 fat, for a total of 690 calories. That's pretty much that. And yeah, let me get a photo so I can make people feel bad for how much healthier I am than them, and put it on Instagram and really rub it in. All right, I'm going to dig in. And as we know, I must be stimulated by as many screens as possible while eating. So I'll probably chuck something on TV, but then I'll be like on my phone likely as well, getting back to messages.